Hi, I'm Troy Alexander for Child Support Game Over. We receive a lot of questions, and one of the things we're noticing is a lot of people aren't quite up to speed on what we're saying. And this is why we promote our book, Child Support Game Over, which you can find the link below and a coupon code. Excuse me. So, what I want to do today is just go back to some basics and cover some stuff possibly you've never heard. But the idea is to, raise everyone's boat up a little bit in the understanding here. So we're going to start with this is the child support glossary. It says judicial process. They make you think you're in a circuit court or something, some sort of proper legal proceedings. And right here, in their own definition, the use of tribunals in determining child support legal obligations, they want to say it's illegal, including paternity establishment, order establishment, enforcement, and modification of orders. Does it say the use of a court, the use of circuit court, the use of Article 1 or Article 3 court, a proper United States court, so designated by the Constitution of the United States? No, they do not. They are using a tribunal. This is a key word. You need to wake up to this, people. This is not the United States court system. So we're going to go real quick. The difference between tribunals and courts. And here's something interesting. Under party, a tribunal may be a party to the dispute. You need to understand that it's headed by not a judge or a magistrate, but a chairperson or other. Basically, it's a presiding employee. In the child support dispute, that they have brought you into this kabuki theater, dressed it up, and done the paperwork to make you think you're going into a proper judicial court, and that they are making proper Article 1 or Article 3 court decisions on you. No, they are operating a tribunal in which they have a presiding employee. And this is coming about through private international law. This is key to understand. Difference between public and private international law, we'll just jump right to. Private international law regulates relationships between private persons of two different states. And when they use this term states, they are not meaning the states of the United States of America. They are meaning states of countries that have entered into a treaty. These are states of the treaty that is operating private international law. Public international law is that which applies between sovereign states and other international personalities and only deals with the states. We are operating, or they are operating, we are not operating, they are operating under private international law, and they are regulating your relationships of you, private people, when you reside in a different country, which is a different sovereign state that is signed into this treaty. Now, there are three main groups out there trying to usurp our sovereignty, our nation, and create what I'd like to call, or Sam likes to call, a one-order world. What they want to be able to do is from their perch high up above you, outside the United States of America, outside of your constitutional rights that were fought for and protecting you in the basis of our country, and they want to be able to make an order, and it will follow you to the ends of the earth. They want to make judgments against you to enslave you, rack up arrearages of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, so that you become a slave to these bankers, and attorneys who are scheming against you and seeking to feed on you from cradle to grave. And these three unholy alliances are known as three sisters. They are the Hague Convention of Private International Law, UNIDROIT, and the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. And I'm sure you've heard of the United Nations Commission, and we have talked about the Hague Conference of Private International Law, of which this child support is part of it. And I just want to bring you up to speed about this other group called UNIDROIT. Now, who the hell is UNIDROIT? Okay, we know about the Hague. This is UNIDROIT's website, and they have to do with agriculture, markets, and civil procedure, which means how they are bringing you under this, quote, one order world. Now, who is UNIDROIT and where do they come from? They were created back as an offshoot of the League of Nations. International Institute for the Unification of Private Law, UNIDROIT, is an independent intergovernmental organization with its seat in the Villa Aldobrandini in Rome. Now, this is really key to remember, this Villa Aldobrandini. Its purpose is to study needs and methods, blah, 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 harmonizing, coordinating private, particular commercial law between states and groups of states to formulate uniform law instruments, principles, and rules to achieve these objectives, the objectives of enslaving you. Its origins set up in 1926, an auxiliary organ to the League of Nations, which was the predecessor. You know, we got a little bit smart. We got rid of that League of Nations. But then they came right back and created another one, and they called it the UN, United Nations. So this is an offshoot of the League of Nations. An institute was, following the demise of the League, they reestablished in 1940 on the basis of a multilateral agreement, the UNIDROIT Statute. So even though we got rid of this League of Nations crap, they reestablished it in 1940, and a bunch of nations started signing back onto it. But let's go back to this Villa Aldobrandini in Rome. The Villa Aldobrandini is a villa in Frascati, a town in the province of Rome. The original villa on the site was built in 1550 and 1598. It was given by Pope Clement VIII to his nephew, the Cardinal Pietro Aldobrandini, from whom the villa takes its name. It is the only papal villa which is not owned by the state. It is instead owned and occupied by the Aldobrandini family. So do you get it? This is a branch of the Catholic Church, headquartered in Rome. This is Vatican. This is, you have the United Nations, you have the Hague, and you basically have an arm of the Vatican, which is creating a one order world. The desire of these snake attorneys and their bankers they serve, the so-called elite, wanting to usurp the authority of the United States Constitution and make food of you. It was the Hague Convention that said, all of a sudden, you're going to get child support for the unwed child, the child of a woman who is conceived outside of a state contract. The state contract is what they were originally operating under for the jurisdiction, that you contracted with the state, got a marriage license, and made the state a party. But those who choose not to contract with the state, but possibly have a marriage under God, a proper marriage, if you understand the kingdoms of man versus the kingdom of God, you would not get a state marriage. That's my opinion. What do I know? I went to public school. But without that state contract, they lacked jurisdiction to make decisions about the offspring of your relationship with a woman. And now this Hague Convention went, you're going to impose this. And part of the rules were you're going to, each state who signs onto this agreement is going to fund it. The United States Corporation of the District of Corruption signed onto that contract. And then they created the funding and put it through HHS, which went to a single and separate organizational unit called OCSC, which is not a part of the federal government, but is the central registry for the Hague Convention. You need to understand this stuff. You need to understand how private international law are operating tribunals and have contracted with each county illegally, in my opinion. If the state can't enter a treaty, then how the hell can a subdivision of the state enter a treaty and become a foreign reciprocating country to this Hague Convention, private international law? You want to fight this system? You want to get rid of this crap? You want to take back the sovereignty of your country and stand on your 10th Amendment rights from the Constitution, that any power not given to the federal government is reserved to the people or the states. And I'm sorry, but my relationship with my wife that was done under God, my marriage under God, is none of the business of UNIDROIT, the Hague Convention, or any other attorney, banker, bastard, one order world system. Men, you're going to have to get some backbone. You're going to have to stand up like men. Stop being children running to their God and their priests of their Baal system. You need to wake up. They are operating a religious system. It's their God or our God. That's what it's come down to. Their God, which is Baal, goes by many names: Apollo, Saturn, their Roman cult system of Saturn. They've got that Statue of Liberty sitting out in New York Harbor, but it's not a woman. It's their god, Helios, which is another name for Abaddon, Apollo, Saturn. That is a statue of their god. Wake up, people. Troy Alexander for Child Support Game Over. Encourage you to like and subscribe, watch all our videos, and hey, get our book. Bring yourself up to speed, wake up, and get up and fight. These are your children, and your children need you to man up. Thank you.